3, and this time I want you to go crazy. Just go nuts, as if Bart Starr had just kicked a home run. All right, so on 3, give it up for Rob. He's worked really, really hard on this. Hold on. I got to count to 3. You guys got to all do it at once. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I think you guys are really in for a great treat. We have Gary Glazner and Babu Carter who are going to talk with us about poetry and engagement and how we can incorporate that in a lot of different ways. So I'll leave you on that.
We are going to perform some poems with you and create some poems together. We're going to sing a song, an original song called You Are My Boo Boo, which is to the tune of You Are My Sunshine. So we're gonna sit down. This is going to be kind of informal, and you can still see us okay if we're sitting, right? Yeah, good. So I've been working with a high school in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn, New York. And, thank you, that was amazing. Because usually if I say I live in Brooklyn, they're like, Brooklyn, Wisconsin? So I've been working with the high school students there. This is my 4th year. We teach them the techniques that we're going to teach you today, and then we go on a field trip to New York Memory Center, which is an adult day program for people living with memory loss. And the teacher that I work with, Matthew Adelizi, he's just an amazing, you know how these high school teachers, anybody ever have just an amazing, inspiring high school teacher? Let's just raise our hand if you did. And sir, would you just shout out your teacher's name? Just shout it out.
Szymanski.
Yeah, Szymanski? Really?
Detroit, Polish.
I dated his daughter. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a technique. I've never done this at a conference before, so you guys are the first group we get to try this with. Matthew has this thing called Talk With Your People. And it just means that you turn to the students around you, to the left, to the right, and you talk with them. And what it does is when we do the techniques, it allows them a chance to practice the techniques, but also to kind of get comfortable. So before they say something in front of the group, which can be scary, right? Speaking in front of a group. Anybody feeling like, man, I sure hope he doesn't call on me to sing. So anyway, we're going to try this talk to your people thing, and then Babu and I are going to have a conversation, and then we're going to start to include you in the conversation. And a real core element of what we're going to do today is explore the emotional impact of what this work has, right?
Correct.
And not only from a perspective of a professional or like us, teaching artists, or you know, people that work at assisted living centers, but also for family members. So we're going to talk about that and explore that together. And we're also going to talk a little bit about how to create oral history poems. So that's a little bit of what we do. Fabu, how are you today?
I'm just great, Gary. And you?
I am doing good. I was so excited to finally find this place after driving around the back roads of Wisconsin. And when I came up on that purple angel, it just was amazing. Now, did anybody see the purple angel as they came in? Raise your hand if you saw the purple angel. And let's break this down a little bit, and then we're gonna shift to the emotional impact. But raise your hand if you saw, who saw the purple angel? Yep. And I'm gonna just come over to you. And what do you think about just say anything you want to about the purple angel.
I was going the right direction.
It's going the right direction, right? Now, do you know the guy in England that was instrumental in creating it? Anybody know this guy? He goes by, his name's Norman, but he goes by Norms, and he's a poet.
Yay.
He's a poet, and he's instrumental in the Purple Angel Project and dementia-friendly businesses especially. So someone else, one more person, raise your hand and tell us about the Purple Angel, what it means to you. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to hand you the mic, Kathy. And let's give Kathy a round of applause, because she's going to speak in public, right?
I just love angels in general, so when I see it, it just warms my heart.
Okay, so you love angels in general. Anybody else just love angels? And is there such a thing in Wisconsin as a barn angel? Maybe we'll make one up today. Maybe we'll try it, right? All right, so Babu, I want you to talk about this. We've been working together, what, about 8-10 years, right?
Yes, we have.
And you go and do poetry with 6 groups now, isn't it?
That's correct.
6 groups in Madison. Would you talk about that? And I know you have a piece that you've written. We'll refer to that, and you can read part of it or all of it. And so we're gonna hear from Fabu about what this work means to her.
So, good afternoon, everyone.
All right, that was terrible. She's gonna say good afternoon, and you guys, every single person has to shout out good afternoon. Try it again.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. So one of the reasons I like working with Gary is his high energy level, and it's always a pleasure to do projects with him. And we just got through doing the Alzheimer's Poetry Party in Madison. So I work with 6 facilities, and I am a poet, and I know it. That is all the rhyme I ever do with poetry. I'm a narrative poet, which means I love poetry that tells people's stories. So you can see why it would be important to work then with people who are struggling with memory, because of course they all have a wonderful story to tell, and the stories of our lives. So I was the Madison Poet Laureate from 2008 to 2012. And when Gary said, well, I have worked with children, I've worked with adults, but he said, I have a project in New York, and it's about working with people who have memory loss, and how we use poetry to ignite, to do what? Ignite, to ignite their memories, to ignite their memories. So for most of our elders and our seniors, they come from a generation that memorized poetry. So it really is the most beautiful thing to start a poem, and that person has been sitting there kind of listening to you, and then when they hear a line, like I have one person who loves the poem Invictus, out of the night that covers me, black as I know that poem because he said it every time I've ever visited him. So one of the things I love about the work I do is, one, we use poems that people already know. 2, they teach me a lot about poetry, and I am a poet, but I certainly haven't heard every poem in the world. So lots of times the elders will introduce me to a new poem. 3, I have the pleasure of meeting people who are so accomplished, but I know it doesn't affect anyone here, but what I find with most elders is they don't really talk about their lives. They don't really talk about all the things they've done. And then you're writing a poem with them, and how we use it with people who have memory problems is, I have a book, 2 books from Gary, one's in English, one's in Spanish. I use some of the poems there. I can use poems that have a theme, like pumpkins. We have pumpkins all over the table. But then they say the poem. They do what? Say the poem. So each person gives me a sentence, and we compose a poem together. So what has happened though in all the years I've been working is that people become my friends. So if I go to some of the facilities I've been going to 5 or 6 years, And you come to know people very well. You also come to see the progression of the disease. So some people start off, they're poets themselves, and they actually recite their poems to me. And then maybe 2 years later, they can't recite, but they can read it. And then 2 years after that, they are unable to recite, remember, or read their poem. And so the rest of us read it for them. So Gary talked to you about two people that are especially memorable because I'm not only a poet, but I write a column in a Madison newspaper, well actually two, the Cap Times and Capital City Hughes. So I got to meet two people. One was Miss Eunice and one was Mr. Ellery. So Miss Eunice, born in the 1930s, had memorized all kinds of poetry. And she even taught me a new poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar, which I had never heard. She also was a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe. So how many people know Edgar Allan Poe? Yeah, you know, and that always fascinates me, is you know, he's macabre and, you know, evermore and nevermore and all of his kind of weird poetry. So I asked Miss Eunice, why? Why do you like Edgar Allan Poe? And she said, well, because I think that life is a bit weird, like him. And so she had memorized lots of his poems. And then there was Mr. Ellery, who wasn't a poet, but more of a singer. So every poem we would ever do at his facility, he would change into a song. So we'd compose a poem together and Mr. Ellery would sing it. But his absolute favorite song was How Great Thou Art. So he came to our last, in 2017, both of them passed, and they did get to come to the Alzheimer's Poetry Project, and he did get to sing. And one of Miss Eunice's poems, she talked about what she would love to do as a person in her 80s was to travel. So most of her young life she had traveled, but could no longer do that because of being in a facility and having memory problems. But I'd like to think by her coming to the Alzheimer's Poetry Project that I was able to help her, assist her travel one more time to an event. So I'd like to read part of a column I wrote about these two people. At the end of 2017, I said goodbye to two good friends, Mrs. Eunice and Mr. Ellery. I met them while sharing poetry at their assisted living facility through the Alzheimer's Poetry Project. These two elders were already great friends, and they looked to each other long before I arrived there. When the three of us met, there was an instant connection. Mrs. Eunice had a prodigious memory for poems and taught me poems I had never read or heard. When I asked her, how could she memorize so many poems, she replied, I always liked poetry, so I decided to memorize poems so that they would always be with me. Born in the 1930s and an African-American woman living in those difficult historical times, I never would have imagined she would make poetry a priority. Her favorite poets were Paul Laurence Dunbar and Edgar Allan Poe. Once when we wrote a collective poem about dreams, Mrs. Eunice, who used a wheelchair, said her dream was to travel the world again. Mr. Ellery was a singer. I don't know how old he was. I never asked why either of these people were in an assisted living facility, but of the two, Mr. Ellery had more physical problems. He was blind and he used a wheelchair. As exceptional as Mrs. Eunice was with poetry, Mr. Ellery was equally as wonderful with singing. He had a strong, clear, endearing voice and sang many types of songs. Now I know how great thou art, but I can't sing all the verses Mr. Ellery could. Not only that, when I would walk in to the facility, he could tell I was coming just by the sound of my footsteps. And he would always yell out, "Poet Babu is here." And that was the most beautiful welcome. Oftentimes I had a hard time understanding him, but he would be patient and repeat his words until I did. He reminded me of the men and women when I was a little girl who sang in church or in the community. It was such a gift to meet both of them and to remember good times that I had with elders growing up. So late last year, I went into the facility looking for both of them, and then I heard the news. First about Mrs. Eunice and then about Mr. Ellery. They had both passed. So it was so transformative meeting them because it helped me to learn about people's dignity, their creativity, their abilities, even when some of us might look at them and, want to feel sorry for them or, maybe overlook them. If I wasn't working with the Alzheimer's Poetry Project, I would have never met these elders, but I would have also never learned how to see people for who they are, but also understand they're still creative. They can still create wonderful poems together, but also it helped me to get used to. I've tried to say that people don't have to be perfect or look perfect. With Mr. Ellery, he was quite differently abled. And yet he came to be such a good friend and a person I loved very much. So when I went in and they were no longer there, I could no longer hear their voice or see them, of course I cried. Of course I was very sad. But I wrote a column about them because the sum total of my time sharing with them all over those years might have been 45 hours. But they really taught me tremendous life lessons through modeling dignity, perseverance, and compassion. They showed me it wasn't easy growing old with declining health and living in a facility, yet every one of them, each of them, still could recite moving poetry, create moving poetry, and also impact other people's lives. So people like Mrs. Eunice and Mr. Ellery reminded me that no matter the uproar in the world, relationships with people matter most. I miss them, and I wrote about them, and I included them in a column because I wanted people to hear their names, and even though they had never met them, to know their lives were. You agree? All right, thank you. Give Mr. Ellery a big hand.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I want to start to share with you 4 really simple techniques that we use in the Alzheimer's Poetry Project. And just before we do that, can I just get that Bart Starr kicked a field goal cheer again, this time for Fabu on 3. Just go. If you have any teenage angst left in your body, this is your chance to get it out. I'm going to count to 3, go crazy, and give Fabu a round of applause. 1, 2, 3! You guys are really good cheerers here in the barn. So, our number 1 technique that we use with the Alzheimer's Poetry Project is called call and response. Yes, that's right. Everyone hold up this. This is the number 1 technique. Thank you, Fabu. So call and response in this setting is where one person says a line of poetry and has the group say it back in unison. So, would you like to try it? Yes, he's already doing it. All right, so I'm going to say a line of poetry, and you're going to repeat after me, and that way we all can perform it together. And we're going to do what's called a dicho, which is a proverb in Spanish, a Spanish proverb or wisdom saying. So I'm going to say it first in Spanish and then English. So you're probably thinking to yourself, I didn't know we were also going to get a Spanish lesson. So here we go. I'll say it, you say it. Everybody ready?
Ready.
Pan es pan.
Pan es pan.
Queso es queso.
Queso es queso.
No hay amor,
No hay amor.
sino hay un beso.
No hay un beso.
Beso, beso, beso.
Beso, beso, beso.
Abrazo. Beautiful. Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to do it in English, and when we get to the last word is hug. In Spanish, it means literally, give me your arms. But when we get to hug, you have to check out with your neighbor. Oh, ooh, do they want a hug? Do they not want a hug? Oh. So we'll see. And I'm going to use this as our photo opportunity. All right, so here we go. I'll say it, you say it. Everybody ready?
Ready.
Bread is bread.
Bread is bread.
Cheese is cheese.
Cheese is cheese.
Without a kiss,
Without a kiss,
there is no love.
there is no love.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Hug. Oh my God, we got 3 likes on Facebook already. All right, so that's how simple it is, and you can see very quickly that we can add humor, and we can also add touch, which are very powerful in this setting. And so, so call and response, we actually find it throughout our communities. So who can give an example of where they've heard call and response being used in their lives, in their communities? Where have you heard call and response? Anyone can answer. Church, right? Almost all religious ceremonies have some form of call and response. From gospel shouting out amen to the Catholic liturgy and saying the rosary. The most famous example of call and response is one person standing here, 2 people standing here, and they say, repeat after me, do you take? Right? So the marriage vows. And I was doing that, talking with a group of high school students in Durand, a little town by Eau Claire, and this one young student raised his hand. He said, I bet we use call and response during the marriage vows because we're so nervous. And I thought that was a great, great example. Sir, you are wearing a uniform. Can I get your name, please? Yes. Brad Seymour. All right, I'm going to say it, you say it. Here we go. Brad, he's our man.
Brad, he's our man.
If he can't do it, no one can.
If he can't do it, no one can.
Go, Brad!
Go, Brad!
I just relived my junior high school basketball glory days. So we use it in cheerleading, right? Anybody ever gone to a Packers game? They get you excited by doing cheers, right? Where else have we heard call and response? So religious ceremonies, sporting events, where else? Preschool, we use it a lot with little kids, especially in language acquisition. We almost always, hear the phrase and say it back. But with little kids, and where I'm based in Brooklyn, on the ground floor is New York Memory Center. On the second floor is 14th Street Preschool. And the littlest kids are 2.5 and 3 years old. So they're not only learning language, but some of them speak Arabic at home, some of them speak Spanish at home, so they're learning English as well. And it's a powerful tool for teaching language skills. Where else?
Military.
Yes, who said that? Raise your hand. All right, there we go. What's your name?
Chuck.
Chuck. Okay, here we go. I'll say it, you say it. To the left.
To the left.
To the left.
To the left.
Left, right, left.
Left, right, left.
I know, man, his name is Chuck.
I know, man, his name is Chuck.
It's deer season, he always gets a buck. Good Chuck! Yeah. So military cadence, we use it to teach soldiers to march in time. So call and response is really powerful. It's throughout our communities, and where we're using it with people with memory loss, it's especially powerful because we're not doing the hard thing, which might be, do you remember, right? Do you remember this time we went to the lake? Do you remember the time that Chuck shot that buck? You know, that kind of thing, right? But we're only saying, say these words back to us, right? Say these words back to us. Now, many people do not have poems memorized, and most people, even though you'll say a phrase and they'll know, quote the raven, they'll say nevermore, that kind of stuff. But most people don't, although that does happen on a regular basis. I'm going to do a little bit more call and response with you, and then we're going to call on people to share their lines if they want to. You can volunteer, you don't have to. But so one of the techniques is to offer to hold the person's hand while you're reciting the poem. So what we're going to do now is ask that person next to you, may I take your hand, please? If you guys, you don't have to do it, but if you guys want to do it, you can do it. So we're going to take, can I take your hand? And I'm just going to move Fabu's hand like this. If you guys do it, it's more like this. All right now. All right, so we're going to just take the person's hand, and I'll say a line, you guys repeat after me, okay? I noticed like most of you are not doing this, actually. All right, so... All right, here we go. I'll say what you say. My love is like a red, red rose. That's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody. That's sweetly played in tune. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, one of the things when we're working with people with memory loss is we often find, and you can ask Fabu if she tries this as well, but I often find if people aren't participating, like holding their hand and moving into the rhythm of the poem is the point where they'll start to participate. And even if they're in later stage dementia where they're less verbal, we still have that emotional contact, right? You're looking into their eyes, that can be their success that day. So if you're here in a professional setting, I would encourage you to try these techniques with people that you work with, or if you're in a personal setting, if it's a loved one that you're here with, try it with them at home. And so one of the things we can do is we can add humor to this. So that poem is by a fellow by the name of Robert Burns. Anybody ever hear of him? Yeah. You all have sung one of his poems. We'll talk about that in a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to add Robert Burns' Scottish accent, or a Scottish bird, right? So I'll say the line, you repeat after me, and see if you can mimic the Scottish bird. So here we go. And we'll take the person's hand again, or not. My love is like a red, red rose.
My love is like a red, red rose.
All right, so time out. If you can't trill your R, if you can't go, you can go. All right, so here we go, from the top. My love is like a red, red rose.
My love is like a red, red rose.
That's newly sprung in June.
That's newly sprung in June.
My love is like a melody.
My love is like a melody.
That's sweetly played in tune.
That's sweetly played in tune.
Oh my God, let's give the barn a round of applause. That was amazing. So that technique of call and response is our main technique we use to perform poems. And we can add different emotions to it, coloring the emotions. One of the lines we use a lot is from a play by a fellow by the name of William Shakespeare. Anybody ever hear of this guy? No, they're saying no. And a few people are saying yes. So this is a scene where there's, it's two young lovers, and the young woman flings open the door and steps out of the balcony. What's her name? Juliet. And she says this, she says, I'll say it, you say it. Oh, Romeo, Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Now, we can add emotion to that and play with it, right? So, what emotion do you think Juliet is saying that line with? And there's no right or wrong answer. She could be feeling anything. Can I ask you, Caitlin? What do you think? How do you think she's feeling?
She's feeling love.
Love. Okay. If you accept the challenge,
Yes.
would you say the line? It's "Oh Romeo, Romeo,
Yes.
wherefore art thou, Romeo?"
Yes.
And we're going to do a call and response. So say break it in half, so we don't have too long. And you're going to say it with as much love as you can, and listen to the tone of her voice, and see if we can say it back to her with that emotion. And let's give her a round of applause.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo.
Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Beautiful. Now we're going to add in Romeo, and we're going to go over here. He's saying yes, he wants to do it. You guys can work together. You can be a team. All you have to do, she's going to say, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou?" And you just have to say where Romeo has been. He's been out doing something. You guys confer whatever you think he's been doing, and she'll say it, and then you say whatever it is you're going to say. Right? Maybe it's dear. Talk amongst yourself. All right, so here we go. One more time. As much love as you can. Maybe stand up, and so if people can kind of see you, you can sort of look back. You can kind of do it in the, do part over here and then part over there. And yes, you can use the hands of emotion. All right, and our Romeos are ready. Here we go. We're going Team Romeo over there. Let's hear for Team Romeo. All right, here we go.
All right. Oh, Romeo, Romeo.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo.
Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Wherefore art thou, Romeo?
I am at the pub.
Of course. Give Romeo's a round of applause. Did she do a good job? Now let's come over here, sir. Would you do the part of Juliet? But we're going to do a different emotion this time. What's another emotion? Okay, seriously. If Romeo is really at the pub, anger. So you have to express whatever it means to express anger in your voice as Juliet, and you can use the poetic technique, the fist of emotion, right? So you can use the fist of emotion, and you're going to say it. And this time, will you guys beat Romeo? So you confer and figure out where Romeo's been, and you're going to say it. We'll say it after him. Let's give Raymond a round of applause. Romeo, 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 Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Yeah, there we go.
We're in the doghouse.
Oh, we're in the doghouse now. A round of applause.
Who let the dogs out?
Beautiful. So we finally have answered the eternal question. Romeo is in the doghouse. So that use of emotion and playing with that is one of the techniques that we use to see if some people will be brave enough to share. And we're going to do a call and response. So whatever their line is, they'll say it, we'll say it back to them, try to match the tone. Would you do it, Linda? I know you had a good one. And turn and face the group. And let's give a round of applause.
Roses are red.
Roses are red.
Violets are blue.
Violets are blue.
Sugar is sweet.
Sugar is sweet.
And so are you.
And so are you. Oh, give it a round. Can we try one experiment? So come up a little bit here so we have a little bit of space. So we're gonna sit. No, we'll see why. You'll see why in a second. So we're gonna do it again, but this time we're gonna do it as if it's a square dance. So you're gonna say it, and you and I are gonna
Do-si-do.
do-si-do. So you're gonna do the opposite. Yeah, do-si-do. And you guys can, I don't know if you want to do-si-do in your seats or whatever, but we're going to count to 4. Say it again, this time as if it's a square dance. So I'm going to give you a 4 count when we come in. Ready? And repeat after. Okay, so here we go. A 1, a 2, a you know what to do.
Roses are red.
Roses are red.
Violets are blue.
Violets are blue.
Sugar is sweet.
Sugar is sweet.
So are you.
So are you. Give a round of applause. When you woke up, let's see, we have 40 minutes left. 60, what I can't see, what is it, is it 30 minutes? 30 minutes, okay, 30 minutes. Whew, that was close. Yeah, I gotta use probably your glasses. So can I ask a question? When you woke up this morning, do you say to yourself, I'm probably gonna be square dancing to poetry? One more round of applause for her. All right, how about you guys over here? You wanna share yours? Sure. Okay, go right ahead. Yeah. So let's give Camilla a round of applause.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom.
Rattle, rattle, thunder, clatter, boom, boom, boom.
Don't worry, call a car X-Man.
That's fantastic. That will live in my head forever. That was amazing. You want to try yours?
Every begins with K.
Every begins with K. Diamonds. That was beautiful. You guys are really good at the commercials. You want to try yours? You can say no. No. Yeah, okay. And give her a round of applause. Stand up. Stand up. So we can see you.
Water, water everywhere.
Water, water everywhere.
But not a drop to drink.
But not a drop to drink. Can we try it one more time? Sure. All right. I'm going to provide an accompaniment to you. So I'll do a little riff and then you say a line. Ready? Here we go.
Water, water everywhere. But not a drop to drink. Water, water everywhere.
Water, water everywhere.
And how the boats do shrink. That's it, that's all I got.
A round of applause. That was beautiful. Oh my God, that was beautiful. And what is that? That's a song, right?
Wreck of the Hesperus.
The Wreck of the Hesperus. What is that?
It's from a poem.
It's from a poem, The Wreck of the Hennessy. The Wreck of the Hennessy, it's a poem about scotch. Thank you.
No judgment.
This is the part they're going to really remember when they show this video again. You guys want to try it? Nope. Are you sure you want to try it? Yeah. Okay, Bob. Let's give Bob a round of applause.
Once upon a midnight dreary.
Once upon a midnight dreary.
As I pondered weak and weary.
As I pondered weak and weary. All right, can we try an experiment? Sure. All right, stand up, stand up. So what we're going to do, Bob's going to say the lines again. It's the opening lines from The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Bob's going to say it again, but this time he's going to make his voice sound as spooky as possible. And at a certain point, you're going to turn to your neighbor and you're going to go, and then, boo! All right, so here we go.
As I pondered weak and weary.
Let's start from the top. Time out. Start from the top. Here we go.
Once upon a midnight dreary.
Once upon a midnight dreary.
As I pondered weak and weary.
As I pondered weak and weary. As I nodded. Nearly napping. Suddenly, there came a tapping. As of
someone gently rapping.
As someone gently rapping.
Rapping at my chamber door.
Rapping at my chamber door.
Quoth the raven.
Quoth the raven.
Nevermore.
Yeah, give her a round of applause. Beautiful. Edgar Allan Poe in the house. Who wants to volunteer over here? And you? Okay. Sure. She says sure. Why not? And what's your name?
Rachel.
All right, take that. Give Rachel a round of applause.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
How I wonder what you are.
How I wonder what you are. Give her a round of applause. Can you do it as if you were Cookie Monster? Who's your favorite character in anything? Oscar the Grouch. Do you want to tag out and make her do it? We're going to do Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star as if you were Oscar the Grouch.
Cookie Monster.
Or Cookie Monster.
Are you the right generation for Cookie Monster? I'm thinking no.
She's never heard of Sesame Street.
Sesame Street?
Oh, okay, all right, so here we go. And it's Marianne, give Marianne a round of applause. Or what are you going to do, Cookie Monster or Oscar the Grouch?
Cookie Monster.
Okay, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star as if she was Cookie Monster and try to do it back to her. All right, here we go.
Twinkle, little star.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Give me a cookie.
Give me a cookie. Yeah!
I wonder what you are.
How I wonder what you are.
Ooh, you are a cookie. Nom, 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 nom.
Today's conference is brought to you by Chips Ahoy! All right, so that, one of the things that this work does of using creativity in the arts is to provide a way to be with people, to provide a communication tool. So that's really what we're after. We're at this idea of participatory arts, that we're together performing something or creating something. So all these techniques are all about that. And one of the reasons why we do it, and also I think for Fabu's story of the people that affected her so much, Mr. Ellery and Miss Eunice, is it helps to change the story of what it means to have memory loss. And it doesn't necessarily change the progression of the disease, but it means that there's also moments of joy, and moments of happiness, and moments of creativity, and moments where somebody suddenly says a poem as if they were Cookie Monster. That's wild, right? And part of the issues around memory loss is the stigma of having the diagnosis. And it often is isolating, and it means that friends and family members may visit less, they don't know how to interact, and that in itself is harmful. And so if we can help to change that story, even in a little bit, just a little bit, then that can help people. And that's what we're after. That's our goal, is to do that, to help change that story and reduce that stigma. So, would you like to add anything about that as far as the stigma and changing the story, Fabu?
Sure. So it really is so important. And even everything Gary's been doing here today, it really is important. The movement, the touch, the words, the humor, all of it breaks that shell of isolation and people feeling so alone in their life and in the progression of this disease. So, you know, you might say, oh, really, do we have to hold hands? But when I come into a facility, that's the first thing I always do, is go around and tell people my name and shake their hand or touch their, you know, wrist, or in some way to say, I'm here, I see you, and we're about to go on a wonderful adventure.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. So that's a big part of what we're hoping to accomplish today. Linda was just sharing that she is an amazing poet who writes in rhyme and does her Christmas letters in rhyme. So that's another thing you can take away. Everybody should be writing a Christmas letter in rhyme, or maybe even in rap, I don't know. All right, so I promised that we would do this today, and so before we do this group poem, I do want to sing You Are My Sunshine, and there's no one in this room that I'm going to call on. All right, so I'm learning to play the harmonica. This is my chance to try that. I'm going to try playing it, and we'll see if we can sing You Are My Sunshine. So here we go. You are my boo-boo, my only boo-boo. You'll never know, boo, how much I boo-boo. Please don't take my new boo-boo-boo. Very good. All right, now, I think the best way to do this is rather than embarrass people, because I really don't want to do that, and I know it can be very, well, I kind of do a little bit, but it can be very nerve-wracking to speak in public. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for people to come up on stage with Babu and I that want to share that line about that important person with them. Or you can do your poem again. It's up to you. But come up on stage with us, and let's get at least 6, 8 people up on stage. So come on up, volunteer. Okay, very good. If once the first person does, then everybody comes up. Everybody's coming up now. Yeah. Do I hear a third person? Can I get a third person? I've got 2 people. I need 3. I got 2. I need 3. Who's going to give me 3? Come on. All right, we're going to return to our Cookie Monster person. Cookie Monster person, will you please come up and help us out? You were so fabulous. We really want to have an encore from Cookie Monster person. Have her come up. And our 2 Romeos were so great at doing this. If you guys would just come up and share, please come up and share with us. Come on, let's hear Romeo. Not use force against him. All right. Are you guys a definite no? Okay, they're a definite no. Well, let's say we got to get at least one guy. Come on up, Raymond. Come on up. And bring your friend with you. Raymond, bring your friend. Come on up. All right. Now. What we're going to do is there's a couple of techniques. One is if I point to you like this, that means, and I go like this, so I get your attention and I go like this, that means to repeat the line that you're saying, right? And if I go like this, it means quiet, and this is louder, right? So those are our dynamics, so we can have a little performance element. And if I was to go like this, and you were to repeat it, and then I was to go like that, you would also start to say your line. And you'll keep repeating until I go. Okay? So that gives us some performance elements to play with. And on top of it, the whole thing's going to be call and response. So every time they say a line, you're going to repeat after them, and that way we can all perform it together. All right, now, so I'm going to start, and you guys repeat after me. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome.
Welcome.
To the first ever.
To the first ever.
World premiere.
World premiere.
Poetry recitation.
Poetry recitation.
Created by the Wisconsin Dementia Care Specialists. Hanging out in the barn. Precision Poetry Drill Team.
Precision Poetry Drill Team.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Who let the dogs out?
Mrs. Clausen, you supported my timidity and brought me out.
Mrs. Clausen, you supported my timidity and brought me out. Time out, time out. Who can define timidity? Can you define it? All right, beautiful. One more time. Let's hear it for Mrs. Clausen again. Here we go.
Mrs. Clausen, you brought out my timidity and brought me out.
Mrs. Clausen, you bring out my timidity.
Brought me out.
And brought me out.
And brought me out.
Such a simple thing as friendship.
Such a simple thing as friendship.
Dad sang me to sleep with lullabies, I think, but now he's gone. And as I hear his songs, he was really teaching me to drink.
Today's poem is brought to you by Jim Beam. All right, let's do it one more time, but let's do it this time as if it is a lullaby, so you have to sing it.
Sing it?
Yes. And just part, so we can say it back. Just short bits and we'll say it back.
Dad sang me to sleep.
Dad sang me to sleep.
With lullabies, I think.
With lullabies, I think.
But now he's gone.
But now he's gone.
And as I hear his songs,
As I hear his songs,
he was really teaching me to drink.
he was really teaching me to drink.
Good old places he forgot and never brought to mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne. That's Robert Burns. The question is she doing Cookie Monster or a poem? Both. They say both.
It's a beautiful day at the Springbrook. And they have cookies.
Do the short so we can say it back. Just the first part. Here we go.
It's a beautiful day at the Springbrook. And they didn't have no cookies. The purple angel was a heavenly look. By the end of the day, we all will pray for cookies.
Cookies, cakes, and potato salad.
Cookies, cakes, and potato salad.
Grandmas are the best.
Grandmas are the best. It's beautiful.
Cookies, cakes, and potato salad.
Cookies, cakes, and potato salad.
Grandmas are the best.
Grandmas are the best.
Forget the rest.
Forget the rest.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Rattle, rattle, thunder clatter.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
I carry your heart.
I carry your heart.
I carry it in my heart.
I carry it in my heart.
I'm never without it.
I'm never without it.
Anywhere I go, you go.
Anywhere I go, you go.
Anywhere I go, you go, you go.
Anywhere I go, you go, you go.
I fear no fate,
I fear no fate.
for beautiful,
For beautiful,
you are my fate.
you are my fate.
I want no world,
I want no world.
for lovely,
For lovely,
you are my world.
you are my world.
Root of the root,
Root of the root,
bud of the bud,
bud of the bud,
tree of the tree,
tree of the tree,
barn of the barn,
barn of the barn,
propeller of the propeller,
propeller of the propeller,
pumpkin of the pumpkin.
pumpkin of the pumpkin.
And this is the wonder
And this is the wonder
that's keeping the stars apart.
that's keeping the stars apart.
I carry your heart.
I carry your heart.
I carry it in my heart.
I carry it in my heart.
Join hands, join hands, join hands, join hands, join hands. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Nick and the Bear Specialist, First Vision Poetry Trilogy! Featuring Rattle, Rattle, Boom, Boom, Boom! Thank you, thank you. One more round of applause for them. That was really fantastic. Five? I need binoculars to see the time thing. So I think Fabu and I both really want to thank you for inviting us and having us be part of this. It's been a very beautiful experience. I know we've learned things. I think you were mentioning earlier something you had learned from one of the workshops.
Which of the many things have I learned?
Or maybe it was someone else. I'm thinking, it was someone else had mentioned to me in the workshop. What exactly was that again, Cindy?
The need to have people get more involved early onset.
Yeah. So in one of the workshops we talked about that of, once you sort of identified something's going on, to start to get involved as much as you can in whatever activity. Now Wisconsin, I do this, I've done this work in 34 states and 6 different countries. Wisconsin is really the leader in this type of thing. First of all, the fact that you have dementia care specialists, that is unique in this state. The fact that you have many memory cafes all around the state, but especially in the Appleton and Madison and Milwaukee, and I think here as well too, right, Rob? You've run some memory cafes as well. So these are ways for people to get involved. I know, Fabu, you talked about a program that you guys are starting about singing, right? What's that?
So first of all, Wisconsin is unique because it's one of the 30 federally funded research centers. So in Madison, people are able to be a part of the research. So that makes Wisconsin very unique in that. And then as part of the various programs, we're going to be doing, it's called Precious Memories Choir. And just like the Alzheimer's Poetry Project has gone around the world, there have been these choirs formed for caregivers for people with memory loss, people with Alzheimer's disease or mild cognitive impairment, and then their family members and friends. And so they all get together and they sing. So it's again looking at all the beautiful ways, poetry, music, song, that you can continue to help people be creative and validate them in the gifts that they have.
Yeah, beautiful, well said. So we just want to encourage people in your work and with your loved ones, with your family members, to find what the local resources are, and that's a big part of what the dementia care specialists do. So we are super honored to be here today, to be with you. That was an amazing poem that you guys created. So give yourselves another round of applause. Now, I know it's after lunch and the blood sugar is going down, but that was terrible applause. And you guys did so well. So again, I'm going to count to 3 and just go nuts as if Brett Favre not Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Now, yeah, so as if Aaron Rodgers had hit a hole-in-one. All right, on 3, ready? Just go crazy. Here we go. 1, 2, 3! Thank you so much.